Hey class, and welcome to lesson 9, linear equations with fractions and with decimals. So we're going to continue similar work to what we were doing last week, but we are going to throw in the wonderful fractions and the wonderful decimals. So a lot of the same methods that you used before are going to apply to this week. But it does get a little trickier always when working with fractions. That's just one of the things. Fractions, decimals, just always like to throw people for a loop. But the same rules apply when working with the linear equations that you learned last week. Also this week there is going to be an increase of word problems, which I know everybody loves so much. I want to give you a couple of tips for these word problems. When you're doing some linear equations and they're trying to put it in word problems, sometimes the language can get a little bit confusing. So these are a few pointers that I have. The first one is when you're reading a word problem and you see the word is, that means equals. So why we don't just say 21 equals 3 times a number, I don't know. But we say, you'll notice in the exercise this week, you'll say something like 21 is 3 times a number. So is significant, means equals. Anytime you see the word more, that means you're going to be doing addition. Anytime you see the word less, that means you're going to be doing subtraction. And for multiplication and division, it's usually we'll just say times for multiplication and divided by for division. So those two aren't quite as tricky, but sometimes the main one that tricks people up is the equals. Like, why don't we just say equals? We say is instead. So be on the lookout for that. Also, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that filled out the survey. It was a couple weeks ago, back I believe in lesson 6, in lesson 6. And the reason why I just say thank you is because that really helps me to be a better instructor. So I'm continually learning, and I consider myself a student still, and so I appreciate that feedback because it helps me to see how I can be a better instructor for you. And I know our semester's kind of getting towards the end, but as I go forward and teach other semesters, it helps me to continue to be a better instructor. So I appreciate that feedback. And one of the feedback that I saw a lot of was wanting more tutorials. So this week I'm going to make a few video tutorials. I won't post them in this initial post, but look for them throughout the week. I'll go through each of the exercises and pick out some problems that I think are maybe some of the more challenging ones, and I'll make a screencast of it and post it in the announcement. So be on the lookout for that. I'm not going to do the exact numbers that are in the problems, but I'll try and do similar ones, so that way if you're getting stuck on some of the harder ones, you can refer back to it and kind of see the different methods that or approach that I would take in solving some of these problems. So last thing for the week is going to be make sure that you are reading your book if you haven't already finished it. The book report is coming due. It's not until lesson 11 at the end of the week, so you still have about 2.5 weeks for when that book report's due. But if you're if you're about halfway through your book right now, I would encourage you maybe to read a little bit more each day. You really want to give yourself basically that week of lesson 11 to be able to write your book report. You don't want to be finishing your book that week. You want to have your book done, some of your notes written down, and then really you can use that week to just write your book report. If you wait until that last week to finish it all, you're going to end up cramming. You're going to end up maybe not doing your best work because you're going to be trying to finish the book and you're going to be trying to write the report. So put in the extra time if you haven't already. Do that now. Get the book finished, and then that way on lesson 11 you can focus on just writing the report. The report's going to be a 2 to 3 page report that should be available at the end of this week. You should be able to get on and see what the different criteria is for that. But I'll talk more about that as it gets closer. But just for now, make sure that you're continually reading that book if you haven't already been doing so, and really trying to finish reading your book by the end of lesson 10. So that's all I got for you now. I hope you all have a great week, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. Thanks.